2012 marked the beginning of a new era for the Oakland Raiders as longtime owner Al Davis died. His son Mark took over and named Reggie McKenzie the team's new general manager. McKenzie comes from the Green Bay Packers organization. He was charged with turning around this Raiders team that, let's face it, hasn't had a whole lot of success over the last decade. Unfortunately for Raiders fans, that lack of success continued in 2012. They lost 8 of their final 9 games to finish 4-12. That's the 8th time in the past 10 years the Raiders have lost 10 games or more. It's just a tough time to be a Raiders fan right now, and unfortunately for them, the immediate future looks pretty bleak. It's going to be tough to get this thing turned around quickly. That's because the Raiders are in a bad salary cap situation. They're actually still a little over the cap, meaning they'll have to shed some salary by releasing some veteran players. And they're without a second round and a 5th round pick in April's draft. Now, they do have the 3rd overall pick in the draft, so they should be able to land at least one quality player. But the fact they have fewer draft choices than just about every team in the league and have no flexibility in free agency with their salary cap situation means Reggie McKenzie faces a tough task getting this thing turned around. Now, it's easy to talk about the negatives with a 4-12 team. Let's talk about some of the positives with these Raiders in 2012. There were a few positives, and I'm not talking about the kicker and the punter. Of course, the Raiders have one of the best kickers in the league in Sebastian Janikowski, and they have the best punter in the league in Shane Leckler, though Leckler will be a free agent this offseason. But if anything, the Raiders are proof that having a great kicker and a punter really doesn't mean all that much because they've had one of the best kickers in the league and the best punter in the league for several years now. And as we said, they've been bad for a long time, losing 10 or more games 8 out of the last 10 years. So let's talk about some of the other positives. And let's start on offense. We can find some positives on this offense. The defense, a little bit of a different story. We'll get there in a second. But Oakland showed some signs on offense, especially in the passing game. They finished 8th in the NFL in passing offense. Quarterback Carson Palmer threw for over 4,000 yards in only 14 games. And they've got some intriguing young wide receivers. Denarius Moore, Darius Hayward-Bay, and Rod Streeter really emerged as a rookie last year. Tight end Brandon Myers led them in receiving, but he's an unrestricted free agent. Remains to be seen whether he's in the team's plans for the future. But regardless of whether they bring Myers back or not, no doubt they have a good young receiving core. And Carson Palmer, even though he's aging now, he'll turn 34 this upcoming season. He showed last year he still has something left in that arm, again, passing for over 4,000 yards. Now, will Palmer be retained next season? I think he will, but he's due to make around $11 million. And as we said, the Raiders are in a tough salary cap situation. But if they release Palmer, what are they going to do at the quarterback position? Matt Leinart and Terrell Pryor, the only 2 other quarterbacks on the roster now. Neither one of those guys seem ready to take over as a full-time starter, at least not at this point. So I expect the Raiders to keep Palmer for next season at least, which means they should have something going in the passing game again. Now, can they run the football? Darren McFadden, ever since they drafted him in the top 10 a few years ago, everybody, myself included, has been waiting for him to break out. I thought, coming into this season, I thought that McFadden was going to have a breakout year. I keep waiting for him to show that he's one of the top 6, 8, 10 backs in the league, but he hasn't done that. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, missed some games due to injury again this past season, and even when he was on the field, he wasn't that good. Only averaged 3.3 yards per carry, by far the lowest number of his career. So he's got 1 year left on his rookie deal. I expect the Raiders to keep him around and sort of give him one last chance as the feature back to show he deserves a lucrative long-term contract extension, but will he be able to do that? Will he be able to stay healthy? That remains to be seen. The offensive line, obviously, given the only rush for 3.3 yards per carry, didn't do a great job in run blocking last year, though they were an excellent pass blocking offensive line. They kept Carson Palmer pretty clean, only allowing 27 sacks all season. So there you have it. There are some positives with this Raiders offense. The defense, a different story. Oakland allowed 27.7 points per game last year. Only 4 teams in the NFL allowed more points. Dennis Allen, the first-year head coach, he is a defensive guy. His last job was defensive coordinator with the Denver Broncos. And I guess the Raiders showed slight signs of improvement towards the end of the year. They played better defense throughout the last 5 games they did through the first 11. But I don't think they showed enough improvement to satisfy Reggie McKenzie or Raiders fans. They were just a bad defense, and they spend a lot of money on that defense. I mean, the Raiders have $18 million committed to the safety position alone. That is $6 million more than any other team in the league has committed to the safety position. the tandem of Michael Huff and Tyvon Branch, the highest paid safety tandem in the NFL, and the fact that Oakland finished 20th in the NFL in pass defense would lead you to believe that maybe those guys are not getting the job done. So maybe one of those guys is going to be released. Maybe one or both of those guys going to restructure their contract. Remains to be seen. Defensive tackle Tommy Kelly, who's been a stalwart in that defensive front for years now, he is expected to be released because he's due around $8 million next season. And apparently Reggie McKenzie deems that he's not worth $8 million. And as we said earlier, the Raiders have to release somebody because they have to get under the salary cap, which is now set at $123 million. Oakland still $2 to $3 million over that cap. So Tommy Kelly, a prime candidate to be released. Richard Seymour, the defensive end who's been with Oakland the last few years after his long career in New England, he is an unrestricted free agent. He's not expected back. So there's going to be a lot of new faces on this Oakland defense. Dennis Allen is going to be under pressure to get this thing turned around next season. You know, Oakland was supposed to be better than 4-12 this past year. A lot of people thought they might contend for a playoff berth. Certainly, on the defensive side of the ball, I would think that Raiders fans and upper management, Reggie McKenzie, owner Mark Davis, I would think they certainly expect to see strides on the defensive side of the ball next season, even though Dennis Allen, as we said, is going to be working with a lot of new faces. So we'll see if the Raiders' immediate future is a little brighter than I think it's going to be, because I think this team is in for a couple of losing seasons, or at least another losing season next year. It's just hard to see how they're going to turn it around with the limited flexibility they have. I like some things they have going on offense. I think if Darren McFadden can stay healthy, maybe finally he can be the guy they thought they had when they drafted him. But fact of the matter is, Oakland has had a bad defense for several years. They ranked 18th in the NFL in total offense this year. And as many positive things as I said about the offense, it was apparently bad enough they felt a change was needed. Offensive coordinator Greg Knapp has been fired, replaced by Greg Olson, who was fired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple of years ago after their offense and quarterback Josh Freeman regressed under his guidance. Was a quarterback coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year, who had one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So we'll see if Olson can turn around his career, can improve this Raiders offense. We'll see if Dennis Allen can improve the defense. And we'll see if Oakland can take some steps in the right direction in 2013.